Elliot, this is the official poster for the 2015 film, The Lobster. It's a good poster, yeah? I think we can all agree on that. I mean, it ticks all the boxes, right? Rule of thirds, perfect hierarchy, incredible use of negative space. And if you look a little bit closer, you'll realize that that's actually me. This poster here was designed by Vasilis Marmatakis, an incredibly talented designer known for his collaborations with director Yorgos Lanthimos. Poor Things, Begonia, Killing of a Sacred Deer, Vasilis did them all. His portfolio is so prolific that his website it's just a bunch of Google searches. Like you go onto it, you click anything and it just opens up a new browser. Like he doesn't even have to include the work. But among all these brilliant posters, I always come back to The Lobster. Not just for its design, but for how it makes you care about design, yeah? Even if you think you know nothing about design, the human brain can't help but look at those negative space hair strands and go, graphic design? Graphic design? Now, I was 16 when this movie came out. Just a baby graphic designer at the time, barely capable of using the pen tool. Some things never change. But I can guarantee you that if I saw this poster back then, I would have made my own version for like the school play or something. Because that's how I learned to design. I'd see a poster I thought was cool and try to replicate it in a different context while quietly taking all the credit for the idea. But as influential as this poster would have been in my life, this video isn't about this poster. Because I didn't see this when I was 16. I saw this one instead. And this one. And this one. And maybe you saw them too. This video is about minimalist movie posters, the pinnacle of graphic design and the love of my life next to the Washington Wizards. Carefully crafted by brave designers who dared ask the question, what if the poster for The Lord of the Rings was just a ring? Pinterest, Etsy, Redbubble, creative blogs that are just ads for dropshippers, your friend's house, your house. Minimalist movie posters are everything, and everything everywhere all at once. Minimalist movie poster. What compels the graphic designer to make these posters? What makes the movie lover buy this one over the original? And what made 16-year-old Elliot take one look at these and go, I want to be a graphic designer. People think graphic design is pretentious. If you don't get it, you don't get it. They see companies spend millions of dollars on design agencies just to remove a serif from their word mark. Even just hearing the term word mark makes people switch off. But when we care about graphic design, we care about humanity. When we care, maybe, just maybe, we might even start seeing graphic design outside of the client. We might even dare to call it art. I believe that these posters have the power to make people care. So please, over the next 3 hours, join me as I unpack why minimalist movie posters are my passion. Let's get back to Redbubble for another minute. If you've never heard of it, Redbubble is a print-on-demand service for artists to sell their work. Anyone can upload a design, and if someone likes it, that person can then buy that artwork on a print, a tote bag. Redbubble sorts out all the manufacturing and shipping, and the artist takes a cut of the profit. I think maybe like 5 to 10 years ago, there would have been a solid case to use it as a place to sell your art. It's almost too easy to set up a store, and there's no real risk of uploading your work because you can't really make a loss. And the most appealing part, all it takes is for one design to blow up, and you've made millions. Or at least that's what I told myself when I uploaded this design here in 2020. We've all done it, but in 2025 it has never been easier to upload 1 billion AI designs and upload them all at once. But even that probably won't land you a sale when you're competing against all the legacy Redbubble designs that top the best-selling charts. Take the movie poster category, for example. Most of the bestsellers are just a screenshot of the official movie poster, like this one for The Bird Lady. And even if you beat that, you're then gonna have to go up against the Japanese version of the original poster, and the Polaroid version, and the mid-century modern version, and the Polaroid version with the color palette thing from the mid-century wait. How is this legal? What I find most fascinating about Redbubble is 1, it's an Australian company, and 2, I reckon it gives you a pretty good sense of like, generally what people like in their art, yeah? Have a look at this poster for the Dead Poets Society, one of the top-selling posters on Redbubble. Even if people buying this have never taken an interest in art or design, there is something about this poster that they like. And it's not just the movie itself, right? Otherwise, they just buy the original, which is a classic. So what is it? This is what we call in the industry a Polaroid poster. Search up that term and you'll find thousands of posters just like this one, alongside the occasional poster for the 2019 film Polaroid. Guerrilla marketing. The template is simple. A square still, hand-picked from the movie, the title in the font Babass New 90% of the time, and a bunch of details at the bottom that for some reason almost always include the runtime and a gap before the list of cast members. We'll get more into Polaroid posters soon, as this is one of 3 styles that I want to get into in this video that I think document the evolution of good design as it is most widely perceived. Poster styles that scratch that itch to make your room a bit more aesthetic, because the official posters just don't do it for you, which is completely fair because they're all just floating head posters these days, am I right? Duh. I will talk about that as well. The holy trinity of minimalist movie poster styles looks like this. Polaroid posters, mid-century modern posters, I did not coin that term, and finally, and I have to coin this one as I don't know what else to call it, other than just true minimalist movie posters. I strongly believe that these 3 styles document the non-designer's taste in design over the last 2 decades. I think that these posters have the power to make people give a shit about design. And I'm really struggling to put into words like how I feel the thesis of this, so the script isn't very coherent, but just follow along and we'll have fun, okay? I swear it gets somewhere, I think, truly. Hey guys, check out this minimalist movie poster. What? This isn't a minimalist movie poster. This is a minimalist VPN poster for NordVPN, the sponsor of today's video. You like to watch movies, yeah? This video is about movies. You might have an interest in that. Isn't it just the worst when you're trying to watch a movie because you want to watch a movie and then you can't watch the movie because that movie isn't available in your country, even though there's like a billion different streaming services available? I just paid a streaming service to watch the latest season of Taskmaster UK, and I was astonished to find the other day that when I joined the US server, all of Taskmaster, all of it is free on the YouTube, on American YouTube. Huh? This is the power of NordVPN. You can also sleep peacefully at night knowing that NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro is keeping you safe online. Ever downloaded a font from a website that makes you think, how has this website not been taken down yet? And then you accidentally click the wrong download button because you were deep in like a graphic design flow state and you installed something that just wasn't a font? Well, I have, and now I never will again, because Threat Protection Pro blocks that fake download button from showing up in the first place, as well as scanning and blocking phishing websites and fake shops, because we all know it has never been easier to make a website that looks legit, but in fact is not legit. Enjoy browsing free from online threats, censorship, and surveillance with NordVPN, who have also blessed the Elliot community with an exclusive deal. Head on over to nordvpn.com/ElliotVPN to get 4 months extra on the already discounted plans with a 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. That's nordvpn.com/ElliotVPN. Elliot is a VPN. Maybe. That's what my username would be if I was a VPN. Let me show you one of the first posters I ever designed. It was a poster for a short film I made for high school English class in like 2014. At the time, it was my magnum opus. Babass New, the People's Princess, free vintage paper texture, and most importantly, a minimalist graphic that sums up the entire short film. The film was about a guy who made all the decisions in his life based on the guidance from a magic 8-ball. So it's a pretty smart poster, right? Because of the 8-ball? They called me gifted and talented. So where did young, inexperienced Elliot get the inspiration for this poster from? Well, if you were lucky enough to be on Facebook back in the early 2010s when it was epic, and when choosing the right time to change your profile picture to maximize the like count was a serious consideration in your life, then you might have seen a shared article like this one. Designer creates minimalist posters of famous movies using only circles. Young Elliot be like, guys, look at this poster for The Matrix that's just literally a red circle and a blue circle because that's that scene. Yeah? Oh, you don't get it? I guess that just makes me better than you. These articles are where I got 90% of my design inspiration from, and I still love these. I see it as like the graphic designer's way of making fan art. These ones in particular are by an Aussie designer, Nick Barclay. And this is a great example of what I truly mean by minimalist movie posters, yeah? Like, minimalist posters have been around for ages. Saul Bass was a master of the minimalist movie poster. But these are movie posters, and these are posters about movies. Kind of like how Bertolt Brecht didn't make musicals, he made plays with music. Mother Courage referenced on the Elliot is a Cool Guy channel? The state of the movie poster industry right now is that the poster is made to sell the movie. It's pretty dire. People have been saying it's dead even. I don't really have a feeling. That's why you see all the floating heads posters, yeah? Because you look at the poster and you go, oh my god, it's that guy from that thing. I better renew my Netflix subscription. The price hike is justified because Frankenstein's monster is Australia. There's rarely any mystery. If the poster looks like this, you know it's going to be a romantic comedy. I think people have wrote things about that before. The less things you have to think about that might get in the way of you buying a ticket, the better. But the purpose of these posters is the greatest purpose in the world of graphic design. Just for the fun of it, baby. I mean, why not? What else are we meant to design posters about? Graphic design jokes? I actually knew a guy who used to do that.
Hey everyone, Elliot is a cool guy.
We don't talk anymore.
Now in HD lighting.
True minimalist movie posters work best as a body of work. A series of designs with a set of rules that the artist gives themselves to push their creativity while fulfilling this self-appointed brief. And as a viewer, they're a satisfying puzzle to try and piece together, even if you have no knowledge of design, yeah? All you need is a general knowledge of popular movies, and you can take a look at this and go, oh yes, I know what that means because I have seen the movie. Let's try it out right now, and you'll see how much fucking fun this is. What movie is this poster for? The Dark Knight, right? Because of that one scene. Was that fun? I actually think it might be more fun if you know the title and the graphic, and then maybe the game is putting the two together. Yeah, that's probably it. Sorry. Here's another example for the movie Inception, with maybe a more obvious graphic. Search up Inception minimalist movie poster, and you'll find a bunch like this. This spinner is like physically attached to people's memory of Inception. This poster here is made by the artist Chung Kong, or Vince as the signature suggests. And this is poster number 240 out of 1500 in his minimalist movie poster series. There is a direct link between the rise of minimalist movie posters and the rise of fascism in the United... Hang on! 240 out of how many? That's right, Chung Kong has designed over 1,500 minimalist movie posters. What the fuck? His website states that this project is curiosity ignited and addiction fueled. It is a level of consistency the ADHD brain is convinced it can achieve starting next Monday. I really like that joke. Each poster in the series follows the same set of rules. The text is always in the same font and in the same spot, the signature always in the bottom right, and there's always a grungy paper texture overlaid onto a graphic that seeks to capture the essence of the film. 1,500. And in true minimalist movie poster fashion, each design can be bought from his web store on everything from posters to puzzles to pillows. And if you're curious, the best-selling poster on his store is this one for The Godfather. Now, I haven't seen The Godfather because someone told me it insists upon itself.
Such a bad joke.
But I imagine if you've seen it, then maybe this makes sense. I didn't even know there were 1,500 movies. This is genuinely the style of poster that got me into design. I was obsessed with these as a kid. Every poster I made for the first year or so of my career. I say career like I wasn't in high school. I couldn't stop making posters that looked exactly like this. And I felt like a genius every single time. I couldn't draw, so all I did was I would combine two PNGs of something, and then I'd be like, look, it's smart, because it's a comedy competition show, so it's like, it does the both, and people would be like, oh yeah, that is smart. Huh? Because when you give meaning to a graphic in the context of what the poster is for, then people will just they just trust that it's good. They go, oh, it's smart. That is graphic. There's something there. I'm going to work on that. This era of minimalist movie poster is particularly important to the future of the style because it was taken seriously. This is early social media, yeah. Sharing your art online was such a new concept, and these posters would get significant attention in a way that graphic design rarely does. They're very clickable, they're fun, and they get people to take an interest into the specific design choices that went into the poster. And that last part is so important, yeah? It's about looking at a poster with just a red and blue circle and engaging with how those red and blue circles can so accurately convey a movie that is so heavily associated with green. These posters got people thinking about design, and for some people, myself included, they got people actually designing. The minimal nature feels approachable, but still, there's a lot of parts to think about when designing one, especially if you've never designed before. The easiest parts would be the type and the layout, but the main hurdle would be that custom graphic. How do you use the pen tool? How do you know if people will get it? But what if you could sum up a movie in an easier way? A way that requires only knowing how to take a screenshot. Anyone could do that. Why is the runtime a necessary element for the poster? Polaroid posters. A template so clean, so simple, so refined that this style exists right at the cross-section of cool to look at, easy to replicate, and universal audience. And out of the three styles I'll cover in this video, this is by far the most prolific. Of course, young Elliot was inspired by this style of poster too. Here is a poster I made during my legendary run of designing for clubs and societies at my short tenure at the University of Sydney. And on the 26th of February 2018, this poster received the feedback, and I quote, "Dude, those are really average. They don't even have our logo on them nor any creativity. I could have done that in 5 minutes." To which I very calmly responded with several paragraphs explaining how grateful I was for that feedback and how joyous of an experience it was. To which I got the reply, "Noted, Elliot, we will not be using your design." You know, it's really the people that make graphic design so enjoyable. But honestly, the "I could have done that in 5 minutes" comment kind of perfectly sums up what I'm trying to say about Polaroid posters. Maybe they're not the best choice for actual client work, but this random guy with no design experience looked at my work and was convinced he could do it himself in 5 minutes. And I reckon he was right. He might have even included the running time, which I forgot, and is probably why I got that feedback. So just like the first style, Polaroid posters obviously aren't made to be official posters. They continue the idea that this is the graphic design version of fan art, and just a bit of fun. Some graphic designers will hear me say that and go, Elliot, what do you mean I can't get it? I'm gonna read it from Elliot, how dare you consider this whimsical expression of cinematic appreciation a form of graphic design? There is no client, there is no problem being solved. Beginner designers should learn how to use pen tool and make their own Nike swoosh, and read the book Grid System. If the first thing I learned about graphic design was how to make a logo, I would have followed my year 10 career counselor's advice and become a real estate agent. Never in all my pursuits of learning graphic design did I ever want to make a branding or a logo. I just wanted to make cool posters like all the artists I saw at My Modern Met. I think there is value to making your own version of a Polaroid poster, not just because it gets you designing in the first place, but I also think this style can teach you a lot about the basics of design. Take a look at these two posters, for example. Same movie, same choice of still. Which one do you prefer? The first one is more breathing room above the title. The columns are neatly aligned and the size of the bottom margin makes the gap here feel more intentional, whereas the other poster has a more consistent margin around the image, but much tighter spacing between the image and title. The font is in a bolder weight across the design, and the bottom margin is significantly more generous. They're basically the same poster, but the small details might lead you to prefer one over the other. To the Truman Show fan who wants to buy an aesthetic poster for their room, they will have to decide which one they prefer without necessarily being able to explain why. Even though most people would probably just go for whatever's cheaper. But still, it's the act of engaging with the different design choices made that's important. And this style is an incredibly accessible way of getting people to appreciate something like the rule of thirds. Designing one for yourself takes that engagement even further. Making the poster aesthetic is pretty much already handed to you. A still from a film shot by an experienced cinematographer, a monochrome color palette for the layout that makes the still pop off the page, and an uppercase condensed sans serif in a bold weight. You simply cannot go wrong. I think making posters like this can be such an important step in learning graphic design. All you need going into it is an appreciation of any movie and a general interest in making things look cool. And suddenly that's enough to make this poster that you can look at and go, oh my god, like I've actually made something that I could hang up on my wall. That's pretty cool. It's the same sense of pride that you get after making a more traditional piece of art, right? It's for you. There's no external validation from a client or teacher necessary. And even if it doesn't look great, the only thing that matters is that designing one inspires you to make another. I find it very easy to understand why people make Polaroid posters, as I did myself. What confuses me is how they're still at the top of the charts on like Redbubble and Etsy. Why do people keep buying these? Maybe it's because enough people have designed them that it's trendy and still trendy, right? Like, assisted by our love of nostalgia. It's a Polaroid poster. We like Polaroid still as a form of photography. There's something there. I also think people like displaying alternate versions of content they love as like a way of showing their appreciation. Like why people might buy the deluxe album rather than the regular one. Not just for the extra songs, but because the cover is different, yeah. And I think the movie poster industry doesn't really offer that kind of aesthetic alternate one. It's just kind of the stock design is what you get. I also reckon people buy Polaroid posters because they just don't know what else to put up on their wall. It's like choosing a font for the first time, right? You don't really know what to do, so you just search up best free fonts and then you find Babe New. Babe New is the Polaroid movie poster of fonts. Let's talk about Babe New really quick. With over 25 million downloads, Babe New is the most downloaded typeface on DeFont, making it the most popular free font found on the internet. And that's not counting the further 10 million downloads for the 9th most downloaded font, Bebas. This font is the definition of elite graphic design terminology, clean and modern. It's a font so popular that it joins Helvetica in forever deceiving the non-German speaking world that this word is pronounced new. This is the posterized version of Babe New. Polaroid posters are the perfect combination of clean and modern elements that unite to create a poster that feels cool. A true Polaroid poster uses Babe New. It's the people's princess. I saw this Polaroid poster on Redbubble, and I almost filed a class action lawsuit against the designer on behalf of all designers. Using the 28th most popular font on the font, hanging letters instead of the #1 Babe New? Where are we headed as a society? In all seriousness, I actually love this take on the Polaroid poster by Redbubble user Ethereal Vibes. See, when all these Redbubble sellers start making Polaroid posters, suddenly it's hard to stand out. So the competition drives innovation.
Insert a joke here about capitalism.
You see, Polaroid posters have been evolving. Trends move fast, and people these days want more than just Babe New and a still. No, they want more. They want a color palette somewhere on the poster. They want a studio logo somewhere else. And they don't want Babe New. They want Helvetica New. They want mid-century modern posters. Only in the 2020s could the world be so fucked that using the term mid-century modern posters would work as a marketing strategy. Movie posters didn't look like this in the mid-century. Newsflash, we're only a quarter of the way through the century. We don't know what they look like yet. Have you seen this style before? Because I have, if you're wondering. It's a combo of the more graphic-centered style of true minimalist posters and the layout and use of stills of Polaroid posters. It's a gorgeous evolution of the style. And as of now, it's the final evolution of the minimalist movie poster as we know it. Mid-century modern posters are characterized by bold type, neat layouts, and a more artistic approach to using imagery from the film, moving past the simple still to an almost brutalist approach with clashing shapes and striking colors contrasted with a simple, vintage background. The logo of the production studio is almost always present in the top right, which can be credited to the modern graphic designer's love for adding small extra elements to complete a layout. And the accent colors used in the main image will also find themselves listed as a palette in a corner somewhere, like those Instagram pages that show you the color palette of a shot from a film. Importantly, what sets this style apart from Polaroid posters is the skill level required to make one. Look at enough of them and you notice that there's a pretty clear template for the layout, sure. But when it comes to the hero image, there's a lot more room for error that might leave you with a poster that just doesn't feel right. So how do we get from this to this? Well, if you conveniently ignore decades of art and design movements for the sake of allowing me to really just focus on this very, very, very specific moment in time where people were making minimalist movie posters, then I think that this style can be accredited to one poster. On August 11th, 2022, award-winning art director and graphic designer Patrick Concepcion posts this on his Instagram page, Concepcion Studios, quickly going viral and gaining 116,000 likes. Huh? Graphic designers never get this level of engagement unless they're standing in front of a camera pointing at a font or something. Social media numbers don't mean much, sure, but this level of virality meant that this poster left the sacred, holy space of the graphic design bubble on Instagram and instead entered the, what we call in the business, Explore tab, opening its reach to a much wider audience, which resulted in an incredible amount of attention towards this design, and deservedly so. At a glance, it's simple enough to be considered a minimalist movie poster, but the design is packed with so much intention that you can tell that this is the work of a talented, experienced designer. The color palette and studio logo don't feel like unnecessary additions. The seemingly random red paper tear is perfectly positioned to reveal a deeper artistic quality, cutting through the head of Joker. Even the hand-drawn smiley face in the bottom right is such a lovely, cheeky addition. It just feels significantly more like a genuine alternate movie poster than the other ones that we've seen. And that's because it is. This 2022 post was actually a repost, would you believe? The first time Patrick posted this design to his page was November 2019, to a measly 5,000 likes in comparison, where he reveals in the caption that this is part of a legit limited edition lithograph series commissioned by the executive producer of the film. That's right, it's part of a series. 7 different posters were made, each showcasing Patrick's style and attention to detail. The first 6 consist of 3 pairs of designs that each include a more movie poster and a more poster. Hey, who posts these posters when posted? Post Malone? Don't look away. Hold it. The 7th in the series is also very cool. A collaboration between Patrick and Italian designer Nazario Graziano. Can you tell I have Italian heritage? Patrick has made a bunch of movie posters in this style, with several of them also reaching virality around the time the Joker one did. And if 16-year-old Elliot saw these posters, again, I would have milked the shit out of this style because I was so desperate for praise. Approaching a movie poster with the purpose of making art is very inspiring to see, especially when compared to the originals. And I trust that Patrick's work has encouraged a wave of people to try their hand at graphic design. Very good stuff. Now, the other side of an Instagram poster going viral is that a bunch of people are going to want to buy it, yeah? I imagine that every single time someone comments, "Where can I buy this?" 100 Etsy and Redbubble sellers opened a new Photoshop file. Patrick's style started to catch on with the dropshippers. People started making their own versions of this style. And while I don't think there's anything inherently bad about this, I'm a big believer in being heavily inspired by posters to make your own as a way of learning. And I know Patrick's style is a blend of a bunch of other designers, but sometimes it's just like, you're trying to cash in on someone else's success. It just feels a bit gross. Right? You know, like put that energy into doing your own thing. You're probably going to have more fun. I don't know. Check out this video I found on YouTube.
If you are a male and you want your room to look more creative, get these minimalist movie posters off of Etsy. I think they were like 25 bucks, and I ended up getting Dead Poets Society, Interstellar, and Whiplash. All 3 really solid movies, and they have a ton to choose from.
Dead Poets Society, Interstellar, and Whiplash? I think I know a film buff when I see one. Big W to you, bro. Make sure you tell every girl about this. They're gonna go crazy, man. All my boys love minimalist movie posters. That video was honestly a big inspiration for why I made this very video. I think it helps answer why people like these posters. Sometimes all it takes is for some random guy on YouTube Shorts to be like, this poster will make you cool. And some guy in his like early 20s surrounded by black and gray IKEA furniture will suddenly go, community. And there's beauty to that, yeah? Like there's obviously people out there who really want to enjoy their space more, but just don't know where to start. And that is like the role that the minimalist movie poster can fill. And while one mid-century modern whiplash poster might not make your room look cool instantly, it might set you down a path of being more confident in what you like, and also make you realize that having a cool room isn't about other people thinking it's cool, but instead is about surrounding yourself with things that you actually like. Because art and design are completely subjective. There's also a sub-style that exists in between Polaroid posters and mid-century modern posters, which I think is very funny. These posters have the approachability of Polaroid posters and some of the subtle design elements of the mid-century modern posters that make the design feel more complete. And the fact that these posters exist is proof that I'm onto something with this video, I swear, right? Because imagine, like, you want to make this, but you can only make this, and this is what you make. It makes perfect sense, right? I've written 5,000 words on this. True minimalist movie posters evolved into Polaroid posters that evolved into mid-century modern posters that are kind of evolving back into Polaroid posters. So what comes next? Hey, I'm just a graphic design content creator YouTuber. Don't ask me. But there are some interesting places like outside of posters that you can look at if you're trying to get like today's current sense of what good design is. This is a thumbnail for a YouTube video, which is just a lo-fi compilation of AI generated music that the artist describes as a way for them to express their emotions and musical ideas. Wow, isn't that so beautiful? 2.5 million views, and all the comments are like, whoa, I fuck heavy with this vibe. And it's like, what is the vibe? It's just random words, and then there's like in the description, there's a quote from The Great Gatsby for some reason. The image has like been generative expanded, but it's done really poorly. You can quite obviously tell the texture different. Anyway, no attention to detail, but like I think people like the vibe, and vibes are very in right now, so maybe minimalist movie posters will head in that direction. Yeah, I must admit, it feels like this could be the end of minimalist movie posters as we know it. I don't see it evolving much further from here. Because as this evolution of style has like progressed, I fear that like the purpose has shifted to the wrong place. These posters are born out of curiosity and a love for design. They weren't made to sell anything or be sold for that matter. They're like creative exercises that were fun no matter your level of experience. And selling them is just a byproduct of that passion. But the joy of the process and the love for attention to detail is trying to be like pushed away by these losers in charge of generative AI. Here we go. Because like, what is the incentive now to learn how to actually design when it's never been easier to design? And when the design programs themselves are like actively pushing this narrative that creativity is like all about efficiency. You can make so many designs at once. Like, don't worry about the process. Just get out the final product. I don't know, it's fucking dumb, man. At the end of the day, if you care about art and design, you're not gonna buy some poster off of Redbubble that's just AI slop. Because you know that creativity is like an innately human thing. You appreciate the artistic choices that went into making art, and you see how the artist is a part of the artwork itself. And design is the same too. I think graphic design can be incredibly self-expressive. That's when it's like the most fun, right? And I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that these minimalist movie posters can like actively contribute to getting people to think that art and design are more than just products and services. If making fan art is a gateway for people to get into art, then making minimalist movie posters can be a gateway for people to get into design. God forbid we have fun, because who knows? Starting your career by making minimalist movie posters might just result in you making minimalist movie posters for a living. All it takes is an interest. And you might also end up being a graphic design YouTuber. And some people will think that's not a valid career, but you know, I think I have a lot of fun. Silent night. Hey everyone, I've got two things relevant to this video that you might be interested in that I've found since recording, okay? First up, you know the Fairbairn brothers? They're like an Australian comedy duo. They're doing their first live show next year, and they released their poster. Is this not a Polaroid poster / mid-century modern influence? Like can you see it now? Can you see it now? I can see it. I can't stop seeing it. And then just the other day, the new Tom Cruise trailer came out for the new film Digger, and the poster was released as well, and we are so back. This is a direct reference to Anatomy of a Murder, the Saul Bass poster. Guys, the type at the bottom is a direct reference to that poster. It has to be. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. We made 4 videos this year, the same as last year. I reckon next year we can make 4,000 rather, on the cards if you're wondering, for the next few months. I'm gonna be dropping my live show taping, Graphic Design Live. That's gonna come out probably next 2 months or so, and then I've got a absolutely massive video planned that is currently in the works as well. At the same time as I was making this one, that's gonna be huge. It is a sponsored video, but please, it's actually the budget from the video means that I can do some crazy shit. It's gonna be insane. Can't wait. Anyway, have a great end of year. I'll see you all in the new year. Thanks so much for watching. Thanks for enjoying my channel this year. Love you all, and I will see you very soon. Please enjoy your YouTube watching experience for the rest of the day. KELLIOT, 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 KELLIOT.